What are our thoughts and feelings on our relationship with our family members now?
Sometimes you just want to leave the house, but there's not a lot you can do.
My younger brother, he can be a pretty toxic person a lot of the time.
Being stuck in a house with someone for 12 months straight is insane.
Have you guys seen the movie Groundhog Day? Welcome back to another installment of the High School Perspective. Thanks to Ryan for the beats in this video. Oh, I did that completely wrong. Not like I usually would, but it's okay. I haven't been doing it for the past videos, but now that he's here, I have to. Tonight, I have three guests with me that have two of which have been in the same video before. And oh, actually, well, that's not true because Luis, you've been in a video with each of these guys, right? Okay. And yeah, so if you let's just go ahead and have you guys reintroduce yourselves, just so that people are familiar with who we're dealing with today.
Bobby.
Luis.
I'm Ryan.
So today's topic that we're going to be discussing is parents asking kids questions. So for those that don't know, I have known these guys for a very long time, and we've all kind of grown together as a group ever since around maybe second or third grade, I want to say. It's been us four along with this one other guy who unfortunately isn't here with us today. Yeah, so the topic parents asking kids I thought would be good for us because we have known each other all for such a long time, and for a video like this, I wanted to be able to ask different parents that I knew decently well, and thankfully, I was able to get a number of really good questions that are all super articulate, thought out, and yeah, just really impressed me. So thank you to all the moms and few dads that sent in the questions. It's really appreciated, and hopefully, it'll make for a good video. So let's go ahead and get started. So I should probably point this out. These questions are not just any random question that a parent might have for a kid, like that they might just ask around the house. These are pretty thought out, and they all have to do with the pandemic and how our lives have been affected or different during the pandemic. So this first one is kind of goes back to like the beginning of the shutdown and how we were all not totally aware of what was going on at first, but how we sort of grown to be I guess sort of all indulged in the same system. This one says, thinking back to the start of the shutdown, how has life in the last 12 months been different from what you might have expected at the beginning?
I thought it was going to be a lot different. I thought it was going to be 2 weeks for one. I thought I was going to go home that day and then come back 2 weeks later and have like basically an extra spring break. Um, and so I could do whatever I want. And so I kind of indulged myself in everything. So like um, video games and food and everything that I like. And then it kind of just lasted and got longer and longer. And then by the time it was summer, it's kind of just a pattern. So then your sleeping's all off, your eating's all off, the time you're spending on the screen is all off. Um, and so I didn't expect so much change. But I think if we had known, oh, this is going to be a year, then there'd probably be a little difference with how we entered it, our mindset going into it. Um, yeah, so I think it's changed a lot since how I pictured it would be.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. Uh, Obviously, when it first started, I didn't know how long it was going to last. But like you said, I got used to it eventually. It kind of fell into a pattern. I definitely got a lot lazier, and I think there's kind of like a level of like responsibility that you have to kind of take going into each day, that like I have to do these things to kind of keep up like a good mental status and good physical shape. And I think around like the first semester of school is when I was like, okay, I'm just kind of like living a mundane, boring life, and I should start actually like doing more things that'll kind of benefit me in the future. And so I've been thinking about the future a lot during the past like year or so.
Yeah, same. Like at the beginning, when like Louis said, you're just like doing everything for fun because you thought you were gonna go back. But then there was like a certain point where you realized it was probably gonna be longer than we thought. Like after a month. So then you start. I feel like I was starting to do like more, trying to be more productive and take advantage of the time. And then I kind of got lazy for a while, for a few months. And then past few months, I've started to get back on pace and be more productive with my time.
Yeah, similar to Luis, I when the whole news came out about school shutting down and saying how we were all going to be going home for only a set amount of time, we all were just kind of making a joke about it around school. It was sort of just like all the seniors at that time were sort of like, oh, um, just making like jokes that would be kind of offensive now in a way, just because of how bad COVID has become. But of course, back then we didn't really know what the foreseeable future was going to be, or how any of this was going to turn out. Of course, in these last 12 months. So, um, yeah, very very similarly, I thought that it wouldn't be for very long, and I didn't know just how bad it was going to get. And it's weird to think about, especially now, the last 12 months, because you're kind of like, especially for us, I feel like a lot of kids our age are looking more towards the future and trying to be as optimistic as possible, and just trying to forget the entire majority of 2020 that was just one of the it's probably just going to be one of the worst years of all of our lives, and but it'll also be one of the most memorable. And I think all that we can do now is, like Ryan was saying, look toward the future, and um, yeah, just keep focusing on ourselves. So we've talked about how bad, obviously, COVID has become, and how none of us were going to be expecting how just large and widespread this virus would be across our country, or the entire world for that. Um, and this kind of relates to this question: how fearful are we of catching or spreading COVID? And do you, let's see, what does it say? Do you notice peers taking the virus serious enough?
I think initially, I didn't take it seriously at all. Like I remember that first day we got off, it was one of my friend's birthdays. And so that night, we are like, oh, let's all go to her house and have like a little birthday party. And so I went and everything. We didn't think anything of it. No one got COVID from that party or anything. But that was back when the U.S. had like 1,000 cases total. And then like 3 months later, you're in a situation where the U.S. gets 50,000 new cases every day. And so I didn't go out like barely at all. And that's partially just because I don't go out much, anyways. But especially with the pandemic, I was staying inside basically every single day, so I wouldn't say see daylight. And so I kind of take it seriously because I don't really have any reason not to. Like I'm not going to parties or anything, and no parties are happening anyways. But I've seen lots of people on social media going out on trips, and things like that. Sometimes not wearing masks, and obviously they should be wearing masks or probably not going on trips at all. Um, but it's just important to stay safe. I'd say like I I haven't been going out so that I don't get the virus, but also like think about my family. So, um, like I have a grandmother that I visit. She lives really close to me. So if I get it and I'm talking to a lot of people, then she might get it if I have to visit her. So it's just about safety and making sure that everyone you're in contact with is safe as well, because you make enough circles with other people and then you're connecting the whole world. So.
Yeah, that's a good point. Um, I think at the start of the pandemic, I was in like this like circle. We were like going out like every weekend, and like we when the coronavirus first like hit, we didn't like see each other for like a month or two, and that was weird. But then we had a big falling out and everything, and then the kind of people that I've been hanging out right now, most of them are like really scared of COVID, like a lot more than I am. And I haven't really like been going out much in the past year at all, actually, really. We did go on like a little trip, but it was in an art. We went on like a little RV trip for about a week. We all had masks and stuff. And yeah, I don't know. It's just I've definitely also been really worried for like the people around me, because my grandma and grandpa, we visit them every 2 weeks or so. And I'm pretty sure they're like pretty high risk, so I don't want to spread it. So I'm focused on not getting it as best as possible. So I'm just trying to stay inside still.
Yeah, like you could definitely see people that aren't taking it as seriously. Like I definitely see people that are going out a lot and not wearing masks or whatever. But I'd say for the most part, I think people are relatively taking it seriously. Like even if they do go out, I'd say most people are wearing masks of what I've seen. Um, but yeah, like in the beginning, like Louis said, we didn't know how bad it was gonna be, so um, we didn't really know. Like I remember in the beginning, we didn't even know that masks were like what we were supposed to do. So I don't think. And I remember like just like everyone was like just had no idea. But then we start getting more and more. And then I think people start to, even for a while, I don't think people were taking it seriously. But I think in the past 6 months or so, people have been taking it more seriously. So I think that's good.
Yeah, I think there's obviously going to be the people that are just angry in general, for people our age about not being able to have what would be an ideal senior year. So to say that they're not taking it seriously might be a bit of a stretch, but there are definitely people that are more cautious or taking it more seriously than others. And maybe it's not even their choice. Maybe they're forced to stay home and forced to, not sneak out of the house or go do stuff with their friends that they normally would. I know it was kind of like that for a lot of people at first. Like everybody didn't think that it'd get to this kind of level of bad, in a way that the entire world would have to shut down. But for us, or I guess for me specifically, I don't worry that much for myself getting the virus. I know obviously like in the U.S. it's and the state that we live in, it's a pretty it's pretty easy, honestly, like to be stupid and to contract it and to pass it on to other people. But there's people like that everywhere, and as long as you're in as long as you associate with what the majority of the safe people are doing, I think you'll be okay for the most part, unless you're one of the people that are selfish and going out constantly and have no regard to what other people's health and safety standards might be. But I have been, I like like we do these things at school called pods, and you're allowed to be in one and be with that same group and see them every now and then. But it's like the moment you step outside the house and go do something else with a different group, you have to quarantine for a set amount of time and maybe even get tested if it is that much of a concern. But no, I don't fear about getting the virus for myself. I do fear about, if I were to get it though, passing it on to other people.
I had a question for you, Will, as well.
Yeah.
So you're in student government as well, so you know what it's like to have to plan school events. So when we're not really in charge of who's taking it seriously, it's like the school. So I know at our school, like basically everything is canceled. Any in-person event is canceled, and so um, I know how you at your school you guys had senior sunrise, which every single student at my school saw and was super jealous of you guys. And I talked to lots of people, Alex Ikuma, friend of the show, who told me that she helped plan it and things like that secretly. Oh wait, I'm not sure if I was supposed to say that, but
Yeah.
right. But so and so our school's worried about things like that happening, but yeah, there's a whole nother idea where you have to see if another entity like a school is saying, "Oh, you can't do this," or hang out with these students or plan these events, um, because they have to care about you in that sense, make sure that you don't get the virus and that the teachers don't get the virus as well. So
Yeah. Just to add on to that, I think, or I guess like to answer what you were asking, I think especially for student government students and for teachers that are working in the teacher department and have to answer all these types of questions about like athletics is a good example for what a lot of parents have been asking and students too, for what is going to be happening in the foreseeable future. There is no foreseeable future. We don't know what's going to happen, and it gets annoying when people ask these questions, like, because even as a regular student, you might have like ties onto a leadership student, and you might get more questions than the average student or parent would about, do you know if homecoming is going to happen? Do you know if what graduation is going to look like? Do you know what anything in the future is going to be looking like just later on? Like, and it's like, we want to know the answer. Of course, that's the same for everybody. And we want to know, obviously, when COVID is going to end, or when we're going to be able to go take a summer trip with our friends to, go do something fun for once in such a long time. But yeah, the truth is that, nothing is certain. and I don't think anything's going to be certain for a long time. Obviously, there are experts that can predict these things and that can, I guess, give people a little bit of clarity about what they think would happen given a situation where people would be more responsible in a scenario like COVID. But obviously, yeah, like I was saying earlier, nothing can be proven or definite yet. So, but we can hope, right? Like we can just, yeah, I don't know. Hopefully, I've been kind of keeping the same motto, just like, we got to get past the bad and just keep looking forward. This question's a little different, but it's sort of the same, I guess, in that, we're all students and we're all able to talk to each other about this, like on these videos. So this parent asks, do you feel that you've been able to talk with others about your concerns that you've had with COVID? Are you satisfied with these interactions? And do you talk with others to gain specific information, or is it more just for emotional support?
I feel like I don't really talk much with others about COVID, like just in general. I usually, if anything, I talk like as less as possible about it because it's just not what I want to keep on my mind, I guess. But I mean, it obviously directly affects basically everything, so you can't really have plans without, thinking about it. And so when I'm talking to other people, it's less of like me seeking support. It's just me trying to talk to them, probably. So less about COVID and more just about keeping in with people, um, things like that, simple things.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree because I always talk to like my mom or my dad about this. Um, there are things, or I guess, well, here I'll say this: like, if you get dropped off at school, or if you drive to school or walk to school or whatever, and you say goodbye to your parents in the morning, um, the conversations that you're going to have with your parents, whether it be in the morning or when you get home from school, are obviously going to, or maybe not, maybe it's not obvious, but they're very different conversations than from the conversations that you have with your friends at school. So um, with friends, COVID hasn't really been, I guess, like the subject of conversation or just the thing that everybody like wants or like feels that they need to talk about. But like Luis was saying, friends are kind of there to help you. And in the question, it says, yeah, for like emotional support, because no one wants to know, I guess, like how much worse COVID can get. And being that we have people to talk to about, just something else about what's going on with your day or later in the week, it definitely helps, I think, ease a little bit of the tension that a lot of people are dealing with. So um, but then the people that I do talk about with COVID, it doesn't happen very often, but it will be brought up in conversation sometimes. Like, like I was mentioning earlier, like if somebody were to ask me about graduation later in the year, like I'll, maybe try to give them a very subtle prediction of what I think, but I don't really want to think too much in depth about anything because, well, one, I just don't want to be wrong. I don't think anybody wants to be wrong. But the main thing is that it gives me a little bit too much anxiety to think about it in that kind of depth. So, but yeah, I think it does fulfill what I need for my emotional support.
I'm kind of like, it's weird because I have a couple of friends who were like part of like this group who are like really scared of getting COVID. Like their parents are not like letting them go out because one of them, her grandma's high risk, and the other one, his dad is a doctor. So whenever we're trying to make plans in person, it's like that's pretty much the subject of conversation all the time is like coronavirus and whether how safe we're going to be. And usually the answer is like, no, we can't do this certain thing. And so it's kind of gotten me to shelter a lot more and for me to personally worry about COVID a lot more because I don't want to give it to these other people. But yeah, I think most of the time just kind of not like when you're just like talking about other things, it's a good thing to avoid it because it's kind of taken over our lives at this point. We don't really need it to take over our conversations as well. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. Like for me, it's kind of not really something that I'm always talking about. Like if it comes up, it comes up. But it's not something I really am thinking about. Like, do I need someone to talk about it with? I just like talk about it, I guess. It's not like I guess it's yeah, like I mean, I don't really try to get information from people because a lot of people don't have the information right now, like you were saying. But yeah, I guess it's kind of emotional. Not really, but just to talk about it, yeah.
Yeah. And then on the positive side of COVID and how this whole pandemic has played out, this question says, have you guys found any silver linings? Anything that you've been able to enjoy that you normally wouldn't? Any hobbies that you've taken up that you wouldn't have unless quarantine started? And I'll just say these videos is one of them. Like at the beginning of quarantine, like, or even before quarantine, I always sort of thought about, adults are always doing the talking when it comes to like political issues or just any conversations in general. They're always the people that are speaking, and high schoolers don't really get that kind of voice or time to talk as much on like a public platform, such as these videos being on YouTube. So I always kind of had that like lingering thought of like, that'd be kind of a cool thing to do. And when quarantine started, it kind of gave me like the perfect opportunity to, just because of these virtual interactions that I'm able to do. So that was a big one that I'm very fortunate to still be doing today. It's really fun being able to make these videos and have conversations. But also another thing that I had thought about before quarantine was starting some sort of broadcast club that I've talked about before, but I guess I'd go a little bit more in depth here. I love watching sports just as it is, and I've always kind of liked the idea of making a film or a movie. Like just the four of us here, we've all kind of had like not like a shared passion or anything, but just like a shared liking toward making videos with each other, or just putting together what would be like a fake trailer or short film, like knowing that us are in it, of course, but also just because of the whole process that goes along with it. So this club was going to be a way to be able to live stream sports and then show it off to the school, like for those that might be home and sick or something that might not be able to watch it, and then we put it like in a highlight reel for the next day. And when quarantine started, I was like, okay, well, if this doesn't last too long and we do go back to school and maybe they don't allow in-person attendance, this would be a perfect way to kind of save sports. That's exactly what I was thinking. I would just be like, I would just go there to the game and be able to film Bobby on the football field. That's exactly what I was thinking. Obviously, it's played out a little bit differently, and we're kind of still waiting for the right word to hit us, but that we would be able to, that we'd be granted access onto the field to be able to record these types of games. So we're kind of in the waiting game right now, but that's something that I did start, and I think people would be interested in it if it ever did get to the level of, oh, we can go and record stuff now. But those are the two main things that I've started in quarantine.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of silver linings about COVID's in some strange way, in the sense that like number one, you have more time. So like now every week I watch a movie with my family, and so every week I'm exposed to like a new kind of idea or story that can be really interesting, really sad, really topical, anything. And so just the time to be able to consume more media. So I created a healthy obsession for myself of Stephen Colbert. And I would go on the Comedy Central website and just go through every single video, single season, and look for the better Noah districts, and it's these great time capsules, and they taught me strangely a lot about America and how it's set up. So I really appreciated that, being able to just sit down and take time to watch like funny videos that I feel like have intelligent comedy. But then also, yeah, like you were saying, like kind of forcing us to create things in a new way, forcing us to innovate. Like on Student Gov, I'd always wanted there to be a Minecraft server at my school, and this was the perfect time for that to happen, and it actually happened, and it was so great. Like I got to help set up a Minecraft server that I could play on for my school, and it would be part of the tradition of Spirit Week that we couldn't do this year. And I was obviously, or I'm not sure if you've talked about it on the podcast, but I shared that idea with Will, um, and he was able to do it for his school, and that it's just so incredible to think about those things, that like quarantine put us in this position to set these things up, and forcing us to innovate in the sense of, how can I take something that we've already done in the past and make it different in this new format. And the same thing for theater. So usually it's you get a script, you memorize the script, you learn your blocking, and you perform a play. But this time, we helped write. We did little episodes, even like an audio show, a radio show. Um, and so it's thinking about new ways to do things in this online kind of environment. So being pushed to learn new things and do things in a new light, and then just having time to sit down and listen or enjoy things that you originally didn't have time to do. So
Yeah. I think the best thing for me, at least, to come out of quarantine is just I've had a lot of time to like think and plan for the future. Like kind of when I was like a junior in high school, I just kind of didn't really care about what, I was going to end up being like in college or whatever. I kind of had a brief idea that I wanted to like do something in music and like uh be a musician, but I didn't really know what steps I was going to take towards that, like what I actually wanted to do. I just kind of did whatever. But quarantine was like the perfect opportunity for me to like learn some new instruments. So I picked up the bass and the guitar and the piano and the drums, and I'm really trying to like set myself up for my future and like in college, and hopefully get into a good school and do music and that kind of stuff. And also just kind of like new hobbies. Like there are new games that have been coming out. Like I got a PlayStation. That's been really nice. More ways, like Louis said, to like consume media, or like the Among Us. I don't know if you guys have heard of that game. It's been pretty popular recently.
never heard of it.
Yeah, and so I've actually met a lot of new people through that game. It's kind of like it's such like a simple thing, but it's like in a weird way I've like found a lot of like new people that I can connect with, who've gone to my school for the past 4 years, but I've never like talked to, and I think that's really nice. And I've gotten really into like politics and stuff, and I think that's being like more aware of like what's actually going around me, because like before I just knew like what I liked and what I didn't like, but now I'm kind of like delving into like how the government works and like why certain things happen. And I don't know, yeah, like it's just been giving me a lot of time to think and like think about my past as well, and like how I want to mistakes that I've made and how I want to not repeat those and have like a fresh start when I go to college. And I think that's really special.
Definitely. There's a and I like I think I just like tried a lot of new things over quarantine, like different things I probably wouldn't try, like cooking. I started trying to cook because I literally suck at it. Um, I tried like skating for a little bit. That was fun, but not. I don't know. I learned how to solve a Rubik's cube, like just a bunch of random things like that. Like I probably would not do before. And I think that's good. Um, and then like Ryan said, I just you have a lot of time to think because you're by yourself a lot.
So obviously, these are all questions from parents, and I kind of expected this one to come up. And this is before I actually got the submissions from the parents. This is the question that came up the most. So I kind of took all like the variations of this question and sort of combined them into one. And it all has to do with the parents themselves. Um, so this question is, what are our thoughts and feelings on our relationship with our family members now? And what would we like more or less of our parents to do?
Huh. That is a tough one. I mean, being stuck in a house with someone for 12 months straight is insane. It's just like not meant to happen, like ever. So, both my parents are teachers as well. So, and my dad teaches at the school I go to. So, we're basically on the same schedule. So, we're in class, and then the second we're off of class, we're in the same room together. And so, there's no like in between time where someone's at work and then you have like kind of like the house to yourself, not even. And so, um, I I actually kind of enjoy the relationship I've been growing with my parents, especially. Um, we bought a puzzle recently, and we were solving it, and it's very rewarding because I finished the puzzle, and I was like, yeah, I finished that puzzle, and so we just got a new one. It's actually in the living room right now, but it's completely unfinished. But and then as I was saying earlier, watching a movie every weekend with your family, and sometimes it's hard because like when you're watching a movie with your family, someone's gonna talk or like ask a question about the movie, and you're like, okay, I just wanted to watch the movie, I didn't want to talk. and so there can be that. But I mean, family's family. Like shared experience is almost certainly not all, but shared experience is gonna make you love someone. Like even if that shared experience is bad, like going through a pandemic, but sharing hours and hours with someone is like um hopefully a good thing, and hopefully lets you love them more, unless it's like a really really bad relationship, um harmful to one party or the other or both. um and so staying level headed and taking enough time for yourself definitely is important. If I had to ask something of my parents, I would probably say, um actually, I don't know. I don't really have anything to ask of my parents. I mean, they're watching WandaVision with me now, and then watched The Mandalorian when it was coming out, and so having something to talk with about them, like theorizing what's going to happen the next episode, is always great. So, my parents have been really supportive, especially common apps. I mean, college applications being due. So I wouldn't ask anything more of my parents. They've been doing a great job. So
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm definitely the same way. I've been like the past couple of weeks for me, I've been like doing a lot of stuff to prepare for college, and my parents have been like really helpful through that. And I'm really appreciative of everything that they've been doing for me through the pandemic. It's amazing what they're able to do. But I think, sometimes I think during the pandemic, I'm trying to become a little bit more responsible because I know in a couple years, I'm going to be living by myself. And so I'm not going to have anybody to remind me to do stuff. And so they love reminding me about like due dates or to, check my email or whatever for different upcoming things. And it's really helpful. I don't really show it because obviously like I'm trying to be more independent, and I don't really show that I appreciate all the help that they're giving me. But yeah, and also my relationship with my younger brother, he can be a pretty toxic person a lot of the time, especially like during this pandemic. He's definitely gotten like really toxic towards me. But he's not someone that I really spent that much time with before the pandemic. We would just kind of always do our own things in life. Uh, but I'm trying to definitely like kind of clue into what his interests are, and find some other things we could do together, whether that's like playing sports or playing video games together.
Yeah, me and my sister got a little closer to over quarantine because I think before we used to fight a lot, but now we're forced to stay together, so you kind of have to get along. But same with my mom too. But I think there's some times where you get annoyed and you want to be alone, but then you can just go to your room. But then sometimes you just want to leave the house, but there's not a lot you can do. But yeah, like I think it's good that we're together because definitely builds the relationship more, and I think it was definitely beneficial.
Honestly, my relationship with my family hasn't changed all that much. I guess I guess it's gotten stronger, but it's also like we don't really talk that much any differently as it is. But yeah, like Luis was saying earlier, it's like, have you guys seen the movie Groundhog Day?
I know the
Literally,
premise. I've never seen
Yeah,
it though.
we actually watched that over quarantine a few months back.
Yeah,
He relives the same day every day, right?
yeah, it's
Yeah,
like that's exactly what I was gonna say. Like this is exactly what that feeling is. It's like you, 'cause what do we do? What do we do? We wake up, we go to school, and then that's it. And then maybe do homework and watch a movie or something. That's literally all we do.
yeah,
And being that we're in that situation and that we have been for so long, it is so strange just not being able to see other people because I'm going to use a really bad metaphor. It's sort of like in WandaVision. I don't know. Well, for the people that haven't seen that, like it's in the trailer. All right. So if you haven't
Spoiler
seen
alert.
the trailer, then you have a problem. There's a town, and it's only those people in the town. You don't leave, and no one else comes in. It's only those people. It's exactly like it is in quarantine. Is what I'm saying. Um, but that was just the worst metaphor I could have used. But I honestly, it's okay being with my family. Like if it was anybody else, like my friends, I'd probably just have a really hard time and would want to, just just get out of here more than usual. It depends on the friends though. But I think that for my parents' sake, I feel like a lot of the time they don't think that they're doing enough, or that they don't think that they're saying the right thing all the time, or doing something when they should. This is a message just to all the parents. Obviously we're seniors in high school, and maybe you have a junior, younger one in middle school or something. Um, Obviously, it's going to be different for us and our experience going through this, because we're still kids, and we're still growing up in a world that we've come to look at as normal, which really sucks. But don't feel like you have to do more than you're already doing, because chances are you're already doing the best that you can, and we know that, and we really thank you for it. And it's honestly so helpful sometimes. We do need our alone time, or I at least need my alone time a lot, which is why I don't come downstairs anymore. Sorry, but no, I think this question is good, and it's a really good question, because well, one, because a lot of the parents ask this, like, what do I do? There's nothing specific, at least. Like, if there's something that that's just like right there, and like that your kid tells you, like, oh, stop bugging me about homework, or stop bugging me about emails, because we all get the same emails, then that's different. But there's nothing like drastic or incredibly dramatic that you'd have to do to change that, I think, would make this situation any better or worse. So hopefully that helps. I accidentally skipped this one. So this is a sort of like a hypothetical scenario type of a question, which I really liked when my mom read it to me the first time. This isn't from my mom, but this is just, I got all the questions through my mom. So this question says, imagine you were in the highest risk elderly group. And then in parentheses, it says elderly with medical conditions. How would you feel the response to the pandemic has been where you live, and more broadly around the US?
Dude, it's abysmal. I mean, think about how controlled it was in other areas. To be fair, though, other areas had much stricter kind of lockdowns that we didn't have to face, even though most of us would have obeyed them if they were to be put in place. But yeah, it's really bad. I mean, in the U.S., it's like the worst ever. Like compared to other countries who basically completely eliminated it. New Zealand, for example. Like, we're just in the worst spot ever. It's probably the worst. I hate to break it, but if I was hypothetically a super high risk, the most high risk person of getting this disease, I feel like being in the U.S. is like the worst place you could possibly be. Just like it's no good. I mean, I don't know how it would be better though. I mean, you have to strict lockdowns, um, and that's kind of the sad thing, is that like everybody's kind of high risk at the when this virus is so kind of it's so easy to spread. So everyone can get it, and then if you're more likely to die, I mean, the sad thing is like no one's could come to your funeral. Like my dad has a couple friends who sadly passed from COVID back in Peru, which also has not so good not so good conditions, I suppose, management of the virus. And yeah, you can't attend the funeral. It's terrible. So I think everyone should be taking it really seriously. If you just think about it like that, especially hypothetically, if I was in a scenario where I'm super high risk, I would hope that everybody around me and everybody who loves me is taking it twice as serious, if not 10 times as serious, to protect me and I guess themselves. So
Yeah, I would also be extremely pissed off, especially at like the U.S. government's response to the pandemic. It was awful. Especially like a particular person who just didn't really take it seriously, thought they were doing a great job, and it was awful. But like my great grandma is extremely high risk. She just turned 100, and she's living in a nursing home, and she's trying to get her vaccine. She has been living like her life for the past few years, pretty much just like in her apartment the entire time. But the only thing that's changed now is that she can't have any visitors. And so I think if I were in her position, like she literally like lives the same every single day, pretty much how we've been in quarantine, except she's been living it for like the past, I don't know how many years. Right. And she can't, and I think the best part of her day every day is when uh her daughters come to visit her, and now that's kind of like taken away from her. And so I would, I would be extremely, because like she's kind of in the position of like, okay, I can do this for like 5 years, or this is what I would think. I don't know if she actually believes this, but she could do this for 5 years and everybody else can. And I think, uh, the most, like I said, the most meaningful part is other people visiting her, and that's been taken away. And so I think without that, she's kind of, just bored all the time. And my grandma and grandpa have tried to visit her on like numerous occasions, and if they do, they have to wear like all this protective gear, so that you lose a lot of like the personal connection. Um, and yeah, I don't know. I think she's definitely just like scared and alone. It sucks. It's really sad to see.
Yeah, definitely. I think especially being at like high risk like that, a lot of the people who are at risk, they're and are really like taking it seriously. I think they're more isolated than anybody else is because um they're really trying to protect themselves, whereas us, we can get it and then we can just stay away from people, you know what I mean? But they just can't get it at all. So, and everyone's scared to go next to them because they don't want to put them at risk. So, it kind of sucks for people like that too. So, yeah, I'll be definitely frustrated with the way it's being handled. But like we said, I mean, what can you do much better? Like just, I guess, the extreme lockdowns. But it's just a tough situation in general. So,
So the first thing I'll say is I don't know how I like, and this is serious. Like I don't know how much access one high risk elderly person would have to the news, or how much they know in terms of like whatever the country is going through in terms of how they're responding to it, or how much certain people are being affected by it. But let's just say that we do. Let's just say that I grew up exactly the same, and I am in that high risk elderly group. Um, I'd be pissed off. I'd just be mad, and I honestly, like all these guys had said, there's just nothing. There's just stuff that you wish you'd be able to do, and like for me, there's stuff that I wish that I would be able to do as a high risk elderly person. I'd wish that I wasn't in that group. I'd wish that just the entire country and whoever was in charge of making all the rules for what goes and what doesn't would just put themselves into my shoes for a little bit, or to put themselves in any of my friends places, and just see it from their perspective for once, because that's sort of how the country has handled it. I think they're kind of oblivious to the fact that other people can be so much more affected by something than they can. And like Ryan was mentioning, that particular person, like one thing that they could have done could have saved many lives. And, beyond that, there's so many easy, like littler things that they could have done that could have just saved so many more people, and that could have just, maybe eased a bunch of other people's tensions about why people have to be so careful nowadays. It's because in this country, hundreds of thousands of people dead, millions more maybe are in a hospital right now, and that are just, scared for their lives and scared for their loved ones' lives. It's really, it's really sad, and you do wish that you can do more, but especially when there was a person like that in power and that was making the decisions that they did or didn't do, it's just kind of embarrassing. And like as a high schooler, but even as like a high risk elderly person, it's like that if you were in that position to make those kind of decisions, that you would just do better. Like I think, and this is like kind of unrelated to the question, but if people could just have more common sense, I think the world would just be better, like especially for handling situations like this. Like there shouldn't be any question because you hear people like that are just completely like like why do we have to quarantine, and why like this virus doesn't even exist. Why would anyone make this up? There's no gain in this at all. Like what is this going to do? What is this going to do to benefit anybody? People are dying. Like this should be an obvious thing, but it's not. And it's just really sad to see it. And especially for the high risk elderly people, or just for any high risk person with health conditions, I feel for you, and I really hope that it gets better quickly, and that people would just be better. This is written by someone that I know. This says going. So yeah, you got to listen pretty carefully to this one. It says going through a challenging experience often causes you to gain a new perspective on life, and it may give you a greater appreciation of the things that were underappreciated before. Would you say that COVID has changed your thinking, and has it made you a stronger or better person?
I don't know if it's made me any stronger or better, but it's definitely changed my perspective on a lot of things. Like I wash my hands like all the time now, like all the time. Like if you're about to go pee, right? Like I'm like, wait, I need to wash my hands before I go pee, and then after I go pee, just to like be safe, like so that you. I don't know why, but like I think back on like when you're in theater and you're touching everybody, like maybe it's part of the show or whatever. Like you don't really care about any of that stuff, and the couches in the green room have probably not been washed in like 4 years. You're playing a piano that's probably never seen a disinfectant like ever, and you're just touching all that stuff, and then you're like rubbing your face and stuff. Like I just couldn't do. I don't know. It's definitely changed my perspective on like what I'm touching. Like I wash my hands like 10 times more now. But I don't know. I heard it's like actually a good thing to like kind of be a little dirty. Like it helps with like allergies and things like that, and build those type of things, diseases alike. But when there's COVID running around, like you can't take any chance. Obviously, but yeah, it's definitely given me that new perspective of like thinking about everything I used to do and how much of like if there was a deadly disease going around, like I'd probably be the first one dead. Um, has it made me any stronger or better? It's hard to say. I feel like once I'm back into the real world, or once we're all back into the real world, where um, hopefully there is a real world within the next couple of years, where the virus is for the most part eliminated, or is a very little threat. Then I'll be able to kind of reflect better and see, oh, maybe this did make me a stronger person. But I think not being able to test it quite yet in in life that we consider to be normal, like hanging out with anyone you want, essentially. Um, it's hard for me to say. So
Yeah, I just wanted to sort of add on to what you were saying about the whole like washing your hands and just like the whole like germs thing. I remember one time, and this is before quarantine happened, like before this whole virus erupted. Before quarantine, I remember I was like using hand sanitizer or something for, I don't even know, maybe I was at like a summer camp or something, and I remember this girl came up to me and she was like, "Why are you using hand sanitizer?" And I was like, "What do you mean? Like my hands are dirty." And then she was like, "But yeah, like it's bad for you. It kills germs." And I was like, "Well, that's kind of the point." um, but yeah, no, like to what you're like your point, like what you were saying, like you do need germs, but like you just don't want to have like too many. And you also like, especially now in a world like this, you want to be able to take just over the top. Well, not maybe over the top, like for some people, but you know, generally you want to be able to be a more safe, cautious kind of a person. And you do want to wash your hands. You do want to do all this stuff that is on ads and TV and in the news or articles that you read. But to the question, I wanted to say, like Luis, it hasn't really made me, at least I don't think, a stronger or better person. I think it's made me a more mature person though. And maybe that is better because you don't want to be an immature guy. But as a kid, I feel like, if you're growing up too fast, then you have an issue. But I would say that, yeah, it's made me more mature because we are living in a world right now as students and as seniors. We are living in a world where we wake up and experience politics every single day. We've had to adapt, to just look at the news, see that the Capitol building is being stormed, and just look at it as just like another Tuesday or something. I don't know what day specifically it happened on, but everything that you read now in the news, like I remember one time I went downstairs and I think this was the Capitol building thing, and it was being breached, and my mom was going crazy. I was like, "This isn't, that big of a deal, right?" Like, like it's a big deal, but like the stuff that had been coming in like recently, anything didn't seem that surprising anymore. Like
Yeah.
everything was just sort of like like you just,
Wait, but is that a good thing or is that a
You're
bad
just
thing?
Oh
like,
Like,
yeah, no, it's terrible because he's been like kind of numb to like
yeah,
he's
it's
been used
almost
to
like
like
you've
horrible
been
things happening in the
brainwashed.
past
Yeah,
year.
it's almost like you've been brainwashed, like to experience like what would seem like a normal world to you. And like for kids, like for oh my gosh, for the younger kids, like in kindergarten or something, they see this stuff and they probably laugh. They're probably like, "This is the funniest thing ever," but it's not.
if they even comprehend it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hopefully they
but
don't.
yeah, I really hope that have some sort of just but honestly, for all the kids, I think it has made us a little bit more mature because um we do know it's bad, of course, and we know that these things aren't supposed to happen in a normal world. That's what our parents tell us. That's what we're supposed to know growing up in school and being educated about these types of things. Um, so let's see, what was the other question? Yeah, it has given me a greater appreciation for what I have, or what I had before all of quarantine, or what I've come to gain in quarantine. There has been a lot of good that has come out of this type of experience, and making this kind of video will hopefully be sort of like a thing that I can look back on when I'm older, just as an adult, and say, wow, I was really I was a kid back then, living through this, and I thought it was like, a normal thing, but hopefully I'll be living a normal life by then. But yeah, it has given me a greater appreciation for everything.
Yeah, I mean, I've also going back to what you said about like maturing. I think I've also definitely matured a lot more over quarantine. It's something that I've never really thought about, like, actually being ready to take on life. I think, focusing on, politics more. I think like America's political scene is absolutely crazy, and I think it's insane. It can be entertaining at times. It can also be scary. But I've also been just like thinking about little things more, like, worried about my mental health, or worried about how clean my hands are while I'm eating something with my hands, or like making my bed or doing laundry. I've been doing a lot more like, personal, like, because I have more time to do things, so I've been doing a lot more like personal things that'll benefit me in the long run. Like, I don't know, I've been eating a lot less sugar. I've been trying to drink water a lot more, and I think, kind of that perspective on life is really gonna help you hopefully down the line. And also just like trying to put myself in other people's shoes, like what somebody is going through when they're like losing their job during the pandemic, and how like hard that must be. And before, like, I think the whole Black Lives Matter scene really opened my eyes and a lot of other people's eyes to like, how bad it really is. Certain people, just like based on how they're born, and how it's really affected them and they can't control it. And I think it's really important for everybody to have the same mindset all the time, to just like, think about one particular person. They might be being paid like, I don't know, minimum wage, but they can't afford a house. Like, that's insane. Or an apartment even. Or somebody who's afraid of the police, or high risk of getting coronavirus. I think it's important for everybody to think about what it's like living as those people, and not just thinking about yourself all the time.
Yeah, definitely. I think like what you're saying about maturing. I don't know if it's because of quarantine or just because I'm literally almost a year older than I was
Mm.
when it started. Like, so we're naturally gonna grow, but I think definitely I'm getting mentally. I think I'm more mature and just definitely different than how I was before. I value different things. And like Ryan was saying, I'm like starting to prepare for the future, worrying about things I might have not have been thinking about before, like financing for the future, how I'm going to live on my own, different like just life skills that you need to know. And I think those are things that I'm starting to value more and try to become more independent with. And definitely, I would not be, you know, a year ago, I probably would not be thinking about these type of things, but you have a lot of time to think about this. So, and we're about to graduate and stuff soon, so you gotta be ready for all it. So,
I think what's interesting about it too is that there's no way to know really. Like we can never redo this. Like the like we can't check and see, oh, what would I have been thinking of? Like it's just all
exactly.
hypothetical kind of
Yeah.
thing. And I think that's really interesting as well. Like a friend of mine, I'm sure this is happening to you guys as well. Like your prom probably got canceled last year, and it's probably going to get canceled again this year. And so prom, come on, it's like the biggest thing ever for high schoolers, like traditionally, I suppose. And so I remember like a friend of mine was like, "Oh, imagine not being able to tell your kids you went to prom." And I was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Wait, no." Because I'm like, I didn't go to prom. Like, I feel like almost if that's like almost a more interesting story than oh, like, oh, I went to prom and I wore
Yeah.
this or whatever. Like, strangely enough, it's like this is a unique scenario that kind of we're only going to be we're kind of like the only people that are going to have to live this, and then everyone else is going to kind of have to live the aftermath of this, I suppose. Um, but yeah, there's no way to know what we would have been doing. Like college applications, I think about it, like I would have had to turn them in on the same dates, around the same dates. You know what I mean? Like, would I have put that much time into it, or would I have been still spending 3 hours after school, in the theater, like practicing lines and things like that? It's hard to say, and there's
Yeah,
no way to know.
yeah. I was,
Yeah.
and people talk about like which class has it worse? The class of 2020 or the class of 2021? Come on,
Dude,
is
it's
it
not
really
even a question.
up for debate at this point? I mean, if we get like maybe a better type of graduation than just like a virtual or a drive through sort type of thing, and instead of it being virtual, we do get like to walk and whatever, and maybe like a sort of like a version of homecoming and stuff, like everything happening like the last few weeks or something. Maybe there's an argument for it, but at this point there's not. We just haven't worked. Like,
Right.
settle down. And that's not to shade anybody. It's not like a competition, but like if it were, we won, lost. In other words,
We
you
won it losing.
and you've won. Okay, so this is sort of going to wrap everything up. Last question of the evening, and of course, this is going to be coming from another parent. So this one says, "How has the pandemic shifted or highlighted our values and or priorities? And what is the biggest lesson we'll take from this experience?"
For me, it's probably just treasure every moment you have with other people. Like, I cannot wait to get back into the real world and then like actually talk to people. Like not this, like what we're doing right now. Like like every day with this, it's like yeah, it becomes that Groundhog's Day effect where every day is the same. Like you wake up, sit at your desk, and then go back to your bed. Like it's just terrible. Like I need to value every moment. Like even I remember when we were doing Urinetown was the musical that we were doing before it got canceled because of COVID. Like we never got to finish that musical, and like I feel like I didn't treasure it enough. Like this is the last musical I might ever be in. Who knows? You know what I mean? Like if I choose to continue doing musical theater in college or things like that, like that could have been possibly the last musical I'd ever been in, and I didn't treasure it enough. Like make sure to value every moment, especially the ones you share with others, because like I had some really close friends like um who we've been growing closer and closer seniors that year, and that day was the last day I saw them, and who knows when I'll see them ever again. And I didn't value that. Like I thought, oh, I'm gonna be back in 2 weeks. We're gonna be joking. No, like it's not that simple. Like just treasure every moment you have with everyone. And it's obviously so cliche, but yeah, you got to.
Yeah, I think I was gonna say something like really similar to that. But yeah, because my junior year was pretty exciting compared to most of like the rest of my life. Like I had a friend group that was very active and we did a lot of things. And, you know, looking back on that, there was like so many special moments that we had. And like, you know, I'm never going to experience anything like that until, you know, we're back to normal. But I think that one of the things that I've been thinking about the most is like how long, like a certain amount of time is, like how long is the year? Because like it's almost been a year, but like how long really is a year? It's obviously like 365 days, but like there's so many things that you can do in 1 year, or like a month. How long is a month? Like the whole capital thing was a month ago, but it feels like so much longer ago. It feels like a year ago or whatever. And I don't know, I feel like that's something that's gonna, you know, affect me, especially when I'm getting older and I'm running out of years. To just kind of think about, you know, how long does a certain amount of time feel?
Yeah, like I was just about to say that like all the time that I like wasted and regret like not doing anything during quarantine. I think I'm definitely gonna value that time more and try to take advantage of every, you know, even every day. Like I just hate like looking back on a day and realizing I literally did nothing all day and just wasted it. So I'm trying to definitely minimize those type of days and like Luce was saying, just value everything. Like even last year, like how you were saying, your junior year, you had like hella fun and all these things. Like I literally just miss going back to school. Like I just like I would never thought I'd miss school this much, but I literally miss like just being in class. Like even if I'm like sleeping in class, like I literally just miss like being there. Or just like every time you wake up at like whatever time you wake up for school and you hate it so much, but then literally rather do that than this. So definitely value the things that I didn't appreciate as much.
Yeah, we I think everybody misses something at least about school. Like I know a lot of people just say that like, you know, they'd rather stay on online school um at like if there was the option of going back, but um that's not true. I mean, like come on, dude. You see your friends every day at school and I feel like I have to start calling it regular school now because we've been in this type of school for so long. Um, but no, you get to see your friends at school. You get to actually like connect with the teacher there at school, and as opposed to sending emails back and forth. Like I thought that my mailbox was full before. It is horrible now. Like 30,000 plus emails from even like before quarantine, and like maybe 5,000 just because of this. Um, I don't know, some crazy number like that. But in terms of my values, I would say that just like valuing friends and family, like you know, like the cliche stuff, I guess. But it really is important to me. Just having and building connections with older, new people. I've always said this, you know, and I'll continue to say it until you know I've graduated. You know, you don't want to be able to, or you don't want to leave high school knowing that you have burned bridges with somebody that maybe you were once friends with, or you know maybe you had like a falling out with someone. Um, Obviously, there are maybe a few exceptions for some people if there's a really bad falling out and they're just like a horrible person or something. But you want to be able to leave high school knowing that you've accomplished what you wanted to, and that you basically you don't want to have any regret if possible, or like at least very minimal regret. And I think it's going to happen for everybody. I think everybody's going to have to deal with some sort of like remorse or something that they wish that they could go back to. For me, and for probably all of us, it has been this school year, and we wish that we could just redo it and you know have just a little bit more time to you know do some things. You know, we're growing up very fast in this world, and you don't have enough time for a lot of the things that you'd wish that you could do in high school, especially like you know at this age, like when you're a kid. Um, but yeah, and then the biggest lesson that I take from this experience is don't take anything for granted, you know. And just the example that I'll use is, you know, I have a birthday in February, and it's just in a few days, and I didn't think that I thought I was the lucky one. I thought that this would be over within a year, that I'd be able to have two parties while some people got zero parties. I was very wrong. I only got the first one, and then quarantine hit, and I'm not going to be able to have this last one, which was supposed to be the biggest one since the whole senior year thing. Um, but yeah, no, just don't take anything for granted. Really cherish what you have in the moment, and really just live in the moment too. I feel like that's something that needs to be said more. You only get one shot at life, supposedly. We don't know what happens.
Suppose.
Suppose no one knows what happens when we die. But yeah, just live your life, do what you want, and take as much time as possible to do what you want, because I think that's one of the most important things. Don't let something like a world like type of deadly virus stop you from trying to pursue what you want to be able to do. So that is the last question of the evening, and I had to narrow it down because I did get a lot. These guys won't be in the next video, but I will be doing an all-girl episode where I'll be there again, of course, moderating and hosting.
So not all girls.
Yeah, just technically not all girls, but because I have to be there. But yeah, I need to get more just more insight about what different people think, and obviously this was an all-guy episode that I felt was necessary to do as well. So watch out for that. That'll be coming hopefully in the next week to a couple weeks. And but yeah, so thank you guys very much for doing this with me, and thank you to the parents, like these guys' parents, for submitting questions. We haven't seen each other in a long time. It's been a while, but hopefully we will be able to soon. Yeah. Anything else that you guys wanted to add for tonight?
No.
All good. Thank you for having me on, bro.
Yeah, anytime. We should. I'm kind of surprised that this is the first one that you guys like all together both have been on, because I didn't even know you could do these.
There's a pog
You don't know the pog button?